If I was put in charge of the biggest UK theme parks tomorrow, these rides wouldn't make it to the end of the week. I'm going to go through each of the major parks and pick one ride that needs scrapped. Some of them are really obvious, others are going to cause arguments in the comments. Right, let's start in Flamingoland with a ride that I don't think any of you are going to disagree with. The ride in question is Hero. Now, it's a Zamperla Volare model. It's kind of like a poor man's flying coaster. I say that because there were better flying coasters before it, and there have been significantly better flying coasters after it. So I don't understand why this even exists. The trains are uncomfortable. I've described them as like a cheese toasty maker before. You kind of get in this contraption and then it closes shut and you're in this odd position. And the padding, it just absorbs people's sweat, so it's disgusting and it's horrible. It's not comfortable. My daughter went on it and she got oil dripped on her hair. Like, it's just a horrible ride. The weird thing is, so prior to this being at Flamingoland, they had a wild mouse, which I believe still exists down in Pleasurewood Hills. I've done that coaster. I think they should have left it where it was and not put Hero in. So if I was in charge, I'd chuck this thing in the bin. Right, interestingly, the next one, I'm going to go down to Chessington this time, and the ride that I personally would put in the bin has to be Rattlesnake. I am not a fan of this one for a couple of reasons. The queue line is interesting. There's some reasonably good theming in there, although rumour has it some of that theming has now been moved to Alton Towers into the Congo Rapids. I don't know if that's true or not. The problem with it is the way that they handle the queue. So the last few times I've been to Chessington, they prioritise fast track, and that's not uncommon. That's kind of what fast track is. But when I say they prioritise it, I mean the queue doesn't move until fast track is empty. So instead of being like a ratio of, 2 fast track to 5 main queue, it's fast track till it's empty, and the main queue can just wait, which is really frustrating. So not a fan for that alone. The ride itself, now here's the thing, I heard that this is the mirror image of that wild mouse I just mentioned that used to be at Flamingoland, now known as Marble Madness at Pleasurewood Hills. Marble Madness is enjoyable. Rattlesnake, not so much. It takes the wild mouse to a little bit too far and is far too wild, so I'd chuck it in the bin. This next one, so this is a tricky one. I'm going to move down to Polton's Park, and I'll be honest with you, they do most things really, really well. Like, they keep winning awards for like best theme park and all that in the UK, and if you've been, you know why. They are fantastic at everything they do. Now, the thing is, if you look back at the history of this park, it was just the same as every other park. You know, some quirky rides with a little bit of theming and not very much. And then after Peppa Pig came along, they obviously started investing massively, and now the park is in a really, really good place. But they do have one ride that I don't like. And it'll not come as a shock to any of you because, well, I've been pretty vocal about this model in the past. The ride in question is Edge. It's Zamperla Disco. You can see a theme here. Apparently I'm not a fan of Zamperla. But these rides, there are a couple that I've gone on and went, oh, that's alright. Typically the ones without the hump in the middle. I think that just kills the momentum and I'm not a fan. So if I had to pick something to get rid of in Polton's Park, it would be the Edge. Right, let's move down to Thorpe Park because I'll be honest with you, I kind of struggled on this one. There are a couple of contenders in this park. Mostly, they do a fantastic job of the rides they've got. They've got a reasonably good lineup. Certainly, you could argue it's the most thrilling park in the UK. But there are a couple of rides that just... One of them's past its best and not comfortable. And one of them's reasonably new and I'm not a fan. So, the one that didn't quite make the list, but it's a close contender, is the Ghost Train. I think it's a complete waste of space. I never did Darren Brown's version. I just think, like, I get the concept, and nothing against the actors, they're doing a great job, but I just think it's kind of a bit crap, to be honest. However, it's not as bad as the one I'm going to remove, and that is Colossus. Now, the thing with Colossus is, again, the trains. Now, you've probably heard me say this in many, many videos, but maybe it's just because I'm an old man, right? I'm in my 40s now, and for me, comfort is an important part of a ride. Yes, I like the G-forces, the thrills, all that kind of good stuff. But if it's uncomfortable, I'm not going to do it. And Colossus's trains are not comfortable. I'm a short guy. I'm like 5'6", and I struggle to get in these damn things. If you are tall, good luck. They are uncomfortable. Now, again, this is almost identical to Sick at Flamingo Land, which has lap bars. Massively different experience. So, you know, I believe that they can't change the trains for some reason. Not sure what it is, or they won't. One of the two. But yeah, as it stands, I chuck this thing in the bin and all. Okay, let's stick with Maryland then, and let's go to a Legoland. Now, I've said before, Legoland is a park that I really want to enjoy, because it combines two things I like, theme parks and Lego. I don't think it does a very good job of being... Well, it's not it does a bad job of being a theme park, but like, the operations in there are one of the worst. They are terrible, and if it's staff saying to me there is no incentive for them to be any faster, the management don't care. Now, that may not still be the case. I've not been this season, but certainly in the past, yeah, like throughput on their rides is horrific. However, there is one ride that I do not like, and there's a similar version to this over in Disneyland Paris, and I don't like that either. The ride in question is the Ninjago ride. It's that thing where you try to be a DJ and you're trying to shoot discs and stuff. Yeah, I find it just pointless, absolutely terrible. I just sit and watch the screens and you know, that's it. Maybe I'm just a sore loser that can't get a good score. I'd get rid of it. The thing is, they are doing some investment in that park, and I believe they're expanding the Ninjago section, so the new coaster that's going in will stick to that theme. So clearly this ride's going to stick around for a while. But yeah, if I was in charge, get rid of the damn thing. Right, let's go to towers, shall we? Here's the thing, there's probably a few rides in here that different people would like to get rid of, for various different reasons. Obviously, there's a lot of rumours that Rita's on its last legs. I kind of like Rita. I didn't for a while, and then recently when I've been on it, maybe it was after I did a front row, I kind of have a new appreciation for that punchy launch. Yes, it kind of meanders after that, but that's not the ride I'm going to come after. And also, I could come after more the David Williams area than a ride, because, well, it's had its day. The ride I'm going to get rid of is Galactica, or Air. Some people still refer to it as Air. I kind of like the ride, but it's past it. Like, it doesn't look good, it doesn't fit into the area, it's never operating at peak efficiency, like, it's rarely on 2 stations, 3 trains. It just has really slow operations. It's just not a pleasant ride to go on these days, so yeah, I'd get rid of it. Okay, let's move to Drayton Manor. Here's the thing, I kind of like a reasonable selection of the rides. I didn't like Shockwave, but since it became a sit-down train and it's now the Wave, I think it's a lot better. Obviously Gold Rush, brand new, I quite enjoy that. Accelerator, mediocre, but you know, it's a standard boomerang. Yeah, fair enough. They do have Zamperla Disco, by the way, the same as Polton's, but there is one other ride that I would take away, just because I think the way that they've implemented it is pointless. It's their rapids. Now, the rapids were closed for a few years because there was an incident on that. I'm sure many of you are aware of what happened there. But when it came back, the whole area has been themed quite well. The rapids, they kind of forgot about. It is reasonably slow, so I don't know if they've turned the water pumps down and it's just, you know, slower than it ever was. And there's nothing to see, there's no theming on it at all. So, as it stands, it's a complete waste of space. I'd get rid of it. Right, well, that brings you to my home park. My favourite park, shall we say. Blackpool Pleasure Beach. And this one's going to be an interesting one because whilst I don't think anyone's going to disagree with my choice, I think there's quite a few rides in there that different people would like to see gone. There's many people who think the Woodies have had it. You know, that's one of the things about the park. It obviously has that heritage. It's 130 years old this year. So, you know, it has that breadth of really old attractions and modern attractions like Icon and Evictus. The ride that isn't that old, but I would still get rid of, is Infusion. It's a Vekoma SLC. There are a handful around the world that are actually re-rideable. I don't think Infusion is one of them. It's not the worst by any stretch of the imagination. I have been on far worse SLCs. And the park said that Vekoma was out last year or the year before and did some work on the track. Like, we all saw sections repainted, they smoothed sections of the track. I don't know if it's made a massive difference. It's kind of rideable. I think I'm still a bit salty that I remember the log flume that was there before. And I've heard various stories about the log flume was past it, it had to go, like it wasn't what they wanted to do, but they kind of were forced. Nonetheless, I think that the Infusion is a downgrade. So yeah, it's the one ride that I would get rid of at Blackpool Pleasure Beach. There's probably some in there that you agree with, and I'm sure there's others that you would prefer to remove a different attraction. So I'd love to know in the comments down below which rides you'd be scrapping from all these different parks. If you've enjoyed this one, make sure you hit that like button and please do subscribe. I've been Chris, you've been watching Coaster Dad, and I'll see you in the next one. Adios!